See, we'll get to the nonsense in Florida or Ohio here in a minute. But this was a story that I think caught everyone's attention in the sports world. Columbus Blue Jackets winger Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew were killed last night or yesterday when they were struck by a vehicle while riding bicycles, according to the New Jersey State Police. He was 31 years of age. His brother Matthew was 29. Both were Boston College grads. I believe Johnny was the Hobie Baker Award winner as the best player in all of college
really
hockey.
Popular player. And
I know that, Meller and I were talking about this. Tyler and I were talking about it. I know that hockey was part of you covered hockey forever. But just a horrible story. I believe they were out on a bike ride.
Mm-hmm. His sister's wedding was scheduled for today. They were both groomsmen for today's wedding. Yeah.
It's an unbelievable tragedy. And
a drunk driver hit him. He was charged with drunk driving. It just makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Because it completely was avoidable. But I'm sure the East Coast hockey world is just mourning because he was a really popular player.
Yeah. And not only popular, but charitable. Somebody who absolutely was one of the best guys in the National Hockey League when it came to giving back to the community.
Yeah, my buddy Jimmy Sheehan, who lives out in the area, I think, I don't know exactly where he lives now, but spent a lot of his time in New Jersey, says Johnny was a legend out there for just that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Just somebody that everyone loved.
Absolutely tragic and heart-crushing, man. I had a lot of people, a lot of hockey fans who I exchanged texts with, and it's devastating.
I mean, and the loss of any life is devastating, but the story, him and his brother out on a bike ride,
and they're in
night
town
before they're in town to be groomsmen for their sister's wedding. It's
horrifying, and it's just, hug your loved ones, and please don't drink and drive.
I don't even want to picture that accident. It's so horrifying.
Yeah, but it's definitely obviously worth mentioning, and obviously we all send our thoughts and condolences to the family. And, I don't know how you pick up and move on from there, but it'll be a very difficult time for that family. Yeah. Just tragedy that was very avoidable.
Yeah.
College football is on full display. I watched a ton of college football last night. In fact, Tyler Hockey is one of our college football experts, along with Shay Norling. And Tyler is red hot right now. He's hotter than a depot stove, as they used to say when it comes to picking games. He had North Dakota State last night covering the number.
As did Shay.
He had North Carolina on the money line and the under in the North Carolina-Minnesota game. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Wow, Tyler, good job.
Anything caught your attention for tonight, tomorrow,
let me get my
Sunday, or Monday?
Out. All right.
Because we got days worth of college football ahead of us, don't we?
Yeah.
See ya.
Tonight I don't love anything. Kind of a light slate tonight. There's only, I think, 5 games. Nothing really of interest for me. Although, if you want to go off of something that was said earlier in the week, Aiden Childs, the new quarterback at Michigan State. So Michigan State's playing Florida Atlantic to open their season tonight. And they were I forget exactly what the question was that they asked Aiden Childs, but he goes, if you're a bettor, take the over.
What?
Yep.
The quarterback for Michigan
State is advising the over.
Shay's favorite team.
Remember, this is 2024. These kids now kind of have grown up, at least their teenage years, with gambling being legal. So they see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Seriously. Think about the last 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
As these kids are hitting their 18, 19, 20, they know the over-unders. They just better not be playing anything.
In the North Carolina game I mentioned, Max Johnson, their starting quarterback, broke his right leg and it will be out the rest of the season. You were saying he's Brad Johnson's son.
Yeah, and they showed him in the stands too, and it was just devastating. The whole family's there, and it's his first game at UNC after he's transferred all around the country, finally settling into like a true starting role to be the guy, and then first game of the season, I think it was like the third quarter, he breaks his leg.
Tyler, what did you make of the Colorado game last night?
North Dakota State really proved that they belong. I think that when Colorado moves up a step in class, which they will do next week against Nebraska, a much improved Nebraska team as well, I think that when they step up in class, they're in for a very rude awakening. A very rude awakening.
Do you think that Deion will, how long do you think he'll be at Colorado?
I would guess this is it.
Really?
Yeah.
And where would he go?
Florida.
Do you believe that
Florida
he
or
is
Florida State?
Florida.
You believe he's helping himself, hurting himself, or neither with regard to how people perceive him and would want it, or no, how his higher ability, or whether or not you would want him leading your program?
If I was a upper echelon program and I knew like this was Deion's destination, that he's gonna like quote unquote buy his forever home here, I'd love to have him running my program. But if I'm the stepping stone program, it sucks, because then you have all this stuff that's going on and that's surrounding him now. But if he is laying down his roots somewhere, then I think it's the perfect thing, because he can recruit any freshman in the country he wants. He can get any guy out of the portal that he wants. And if he just surrounds himself with the right staff, if he kind of takes that CEO role as a head coach and just kind of lets everyone else do their job, he's going to have the best compilation of talent in the entire country.
Going back to the first thing you said, I agree with the stepping stone thing, because, you know, when he leaves Colorado, he's going to leave a tornado behind him. It's going to be chaos, probably. You know what I mean? Just with players leaving.
You're going to leave Warren Sapp there as well, or is he going to take Sapp with him? Sapp is their defensive line coach.
Take him with, yeah.
Take him with. But I just feel like you're right. If he has a home, maybe it's a little less chaotic of a situation.
Right, because
it feels chaotic right now.
Right now, his whole thing is, I'm going to go into the portal, and it is very tough to win that way in college football. It's easier to do in college basketball, but in college football, it is a mess trying to do that.
Speaking of that, I have no idea how college football is going to emerge from the own morass they have created for themselves 3 years from now, 2 years from now, 4 years from now. I mean, something is going to have to be done. We've talked about this. We've talked ourselves in circles. But as the NCAA football season kicks off, as excited as I am, I have this impending feeling of doom that something...
The tipping point. There's a tipping point.
Yeah.
And have we reached it? I'm not sure.
Well, the problem isn't NIL. The problem is the transfer portal.
Right.
Which is a byproduct of NIL.
Correct.
And I always thought when they re-legislated and allowed guys to transfer and it was called the one-time transfer rule, I thought that as a result of this, one time meant you can transfer one time without having to pay a sit-out penalty. But now we've got guys who they're going to their third or fourth schools. And I get, okay, your coach leaves, fine. In the case of anyone that was a part of Washington State or Oregon State, you were promised a Pac-12. That's no longer a thing. I get all of those. If you're a grad student, I get that. That's fine. But for guys, like we've seen it multiple times in this past offseason where guys started at a destination, transferred to a school, and are now transferring back to their original school. Multiple instances of that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Here's the way I'd put it, though. The idea of paying college players made a lot of sense to a lot of people for a long time. We have pivoted so far from that idea into this chaotic world that, yeah, I agree with you, Tom. There has to be a tipping point that creates change and some normalcy.
And UCLA are in the Big Ten.
Correct.
Right.
I mean,
as is Washington and Oregon.
My daughter goes to Iowa. We're like, when do we play USC? At USC, we'll go to LA.
I mean, I love it. I think it's great that college football's here, but this thing's going to crash and burn at some point. I think it has to. And I think that time is going to be sooner rather than later. Whether or not you're going to have to, if you transfer, you sign a 2-year contract, whatever the case, I don't know how. I think the one thing, and we've talked a bunch about this, is at some points, you're going to have to, there's going to have to be a college football players association. Like the players are going to have to become recognized as employees.
I mean, we're going down a rabbit hole here, Tom, but like I was never someone like, I like the old transfer rules. I was never someone like, well, if the coach leaves, you should, the whole team can leave. But you know what? You're on a professional team. The coach leaves. You don't get to choose to leave.
But that's not the case anymore, Jess. You can leave after 1 year.
No, I know. But I'm saying everybody complained about the old transfer rules. Or if the coach recruited you and he left a year later, so what? You're still playing football. I never got that.
The problem is if the NCAA in whatever fashion or form tries to step in and set a group of rules, the players are going to sue them.
They're not employees.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The idea of paying players made sense, but it's gone way out of hand.
Right.
It's completely gone in another direction.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of paying, the Dolphins have paid their head coach. Mike McDaniel gets a contract extension. Do you believe that Matt Eberflus has been given one of those Chicago Bulls or Chicago White Sox? We're not telling you contract extensions. I don't. Just figured I'd ask.
I mean, I don't understand never announcing that anyway.
That doesn't make any sense.
You're proud of your guy. You're telling the world and your team he's our guy. It only can enhance the situation. So I
don't understand the quiet contract.
And you know what?
extension
It doesn't sound like something Poles would do. I think Poles would stand up there and announce it.
Yeah, that's a Jerry Reinsdorf special.
Yes.
I don't feel like the Bears. The NFL, a lot of the insiders get that information when head coaches get contract extensions.
Why doesn't the NBA? Why don't the NBA reporters get that stuff? Why can't Woj or Shams get that?
Well, they did get it. It just they don't get it always in the moment. Because all that stuff came out about the secret. The secret was out at a certain point because the insiders got it. If they never got it, we would never know.
Yeah, but if it's 6 months later, that seems weird. I just don't get why you don't announce it. Just to make any sense.
Speaking of announcements, yesterday Meller, I think with good reason, hit the breaking news sounder to let us know late in the show yesterday that Ayuk signed a contract extension with the 49ers, 4 years and $120 million. And it's the one thing I fell asleep thinking about last night. Maybe that makes me weird. That
Brandon Ayuk going back to the Niners.
No. Once again, the contract extension
that
DJ Moore signed with the Bears was such a win-win and such a benefit for our football team.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what's funny is at one point
I fell asleep. When I went to sleep last night, that's one of the last things I was thinking about.
You're good at your job, buddy.
Did you have SVP on by chance?
I did not.
So after the Colorado game wrapped up, I was watching SVP and they were talking about
mobsters.
They were talking about all the contract extensions signed by wide receivers this offseason. And when they first did the graphic, they had DJ Moore included. And then later in the show, it actually might have been the Zubin Mehenti Sports Center after SVP was over. They no longer had.
You're watching Sports Center, huh?
It was up on the screen. It was up on the screen.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
My bad.
But what was interesting
I'm on
was
that show sometimes. Watch your mouth.
I love that.
I was actually waiting to see if Jesse popped up. He did not. But no. So on the second time they went to the graphic, DJ Moore's contract was no longer up there, partially because his deal not as lucrative as some of the other wide receivers who just signed their deals.
Crazy.
They got him for the next 6 years at $24 million a year. He's underpaid today. Do you know how underpaid he's going to be in 3 years?
And Caleb's, putting him
it's the Brady
yards
deal.
Up with him.
It's the Brady deal that he took what he was comfortable with, and I'm not being critical of him. He got $82 or $83 million guaranteed. God bless him. He just,
he wasn't in it for every last cent.
Yeah, but in the open market, he would have made more, significantly more.
Oh, there's no doubt.
So that was what I felt. What'd you fall asleep to last night? Your last thought. That was mine.
My last thought is, what day will the White Sox break the record? Because I have to be there. That was my thought.
What do you circling on the calendar?
I think I think it might be in San Diego, which I don't want to go to.
What is their record since the All-Star break?
Is it 4 and something? I don't know it. I really don't. 4 and
come on, Mel. It's your team. I'm trying to torture
34
you.
Or 35.
Yeah, it's good.
Is it 4 wins though?
I believe that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, 4
or 5.
That is
good stuff. I love it,
isn't it?
All right. What else is good stuff is Florida or Ohio, and that's coming up next.
This is Waddle and Sylvie on Chicago's Home for Sports, ESPN Chicago.